Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. A new economic analysis finds that EPA's proposal to assign 50% of the Renewable Identification Number, or RINs, credits to imported biofuels and biofuels made from imported feedstocks compared to domestic would strengthen domestic soybean markets while preserving flexibility in biomass-based diesel sourcing. The study, funded by the United Soybean Board and conducted by World Agricultural, Economic, and Environmental Services, evaluated feedstock demand, farmer income, and commodity pricing under different final decisions for EPA's proposed 26-27 renewable fuel standard volumes. The half RIN proposal ensures that imported feedstocks remain available for biofuel producers, but reduces policy incentives to substitute foreign oils for U.S. soybean oil. According to the study, the option still allows imports to be used, but makes domestic feedstocks, including soybean oil, more competitive. EPA's pending volume rule already projects record biomass-based diesel use, which would support domestic crushing and soybean oil utilization. The study shows that half RIN proposal is the most advantageous option for the U.S. soybean farmer, maximizing domestic feedstock use while maintaining market flexibility. Imported materials remain part of the mix in every case, but the half credit better aligns RIN generation with domestic availability and supports farm income, crushing capacity, and rural economic growth. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Strong northwest winds dominating over Ohio today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. These strong northwest winds bringing across some lake effect cloud cover. With regard to lake effect precipitation, honestly, I don't think we see much. I won't rule it out. Again, most of it's going to be in northeast Ohio, the usual suspect areas, but even there, the winds are not quite from the right direction to make us talk about anything substantial. We do have another Clipper system that's trying to work its way into the area overnight tonight into tomorrow, focusing more on southwest and south central parts of Ohio. I still think, though, I-70 southward, we can see a coating to 2 inches of snow relatively easily through tomorrow midday and early afternoon. Will it cause problems? Well, I think for the morning commute, if you're down in southwestern parts of the state tomorrow, sure. Otherwise, probably not a big deal. What this Clipper does, though, is usher in a big blast of Arctic air. Brutally cold in here for the finish of the week and the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. In that cold air mass, we have one more Clipper that tries to move through, brings some scattered snow showers Saturday afternoon, evening, and overnight. Then we have some lake effect potential through Sunday. But right now, we are looking at mostly limited precipitation in terms of big stack-ups there. The cold is the big story with wind chills through Monday. But then we see temperatures moderate very fast, well above normal temperatures from Tuesday of next week right on through Friday. We have some rain in there as well, especially Thursday night through Friday. Could see anywhere from a quarter to 1 inch of rain. That system draws down some cooler temperatures for the weekend of the 20th and 21st, but we're right back to warm air for the week of Christmas. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Mike Steenhoek. Mike is the Executive Director for the Soy Transportation Coalition. Mike, thanks so much for your time this morning. Railroads the topic of the day, especially in light of some of the proposed mergers. I see the shareholders from Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern have approved the proposed merger, and ironically, it looks like the union workers have as well, which, from what I understand, maybe isn't customary with proposed mergers over time.
Yeah, and so the shareholders of the two companies, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, approved overwhelmingly by a 99% plus margin to proceed with that. So that was one big hoop that had to be jumped through for this to ultimately be concluded. And then now the next step is for the U.S. Surface Transportation Board. That's the government agency that formalizes any kind of and reviews any kind of proposed merger or acquisition, either approving it or rejecting it. And that's that formal application is expected to be submitted to the Surface Transportation Board in December. And so then that'll be about a year, at least a year and a half long process, maybe even longer, just given the consequences of it to the broader economy. But what is notable is that there have been a number of railroad worker labor unions that have publicly expressed support for it. Typically unions regard consolidations and mergers as opportunities to eliminate jobs, and so they understandably get really concerned with that. What Union Pacific has expressed to these unions is that there would not be any layoffs as a result of this merger. And so a number of unions, not all of them, there are some who still oppose it, see that as more of a guarantee for employment. And as a result of that, they've expressed support for it. So that is notable. And that does provide some additional, wins in the back of the sales of this proposed merger moving forward.
Again, my guest today, Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. Today's update brought to us by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
And thanks, Dusty. Let's turn our attention to agriculture and artificial intelligence. Ty Higgins has the story.
If you think AI is the future of agriculture, you already might be behind the times. That's according to Dr. Scott Scheer, Department Chair of Ohio State's Department of Food, Agricultural, and Biological Engineering. He says artificial intelligence is being used in agriculture today.
One of the things we're going to see is a lot of AI used for automation on field machinery. We're going to see autonomous tractors, obviously. The collision avoidance is going to be done by artificial intelligence. But I think more importantly is we're going to look to selectively apply any of our inputs. In other words, we go into a field, instead of making a broadcast application to control weeds, we're just going to spray the weeds. That's a substantial reduction on chemical cost, but also you think about what's happening in terms of the environment that could be associated with that. We're going to see this migrate from weed control to nutrient management within fields. We're going to see it migrate to pest control, but anything you can visually sense or detect, we're going to begin metering our inputs and applying those judiciously just in the areas where we see a return on our investment. Crop diseases and fungicides, and doing the same things with those type materials.
Dr. Scheer says even with artificial intelligence, there'll always be room for the farmer.
There still needs to be a reality check. And while it's great and it has a lot of power, it also has to be used and applied correctly. And so I think we need to be careful that just because it's a black box and it's giving us an answer, there could be a couple more checks you want to do on your system or whatever. And so to say that we're going to see the human element taken out of it, I think what it really means is individual humans are going to be able to do much more, and they're going to be more accurate in what they do.
You can watch our entire conversation online now at ohioagnet.com, on Facebook, and our YouTube channel. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins reporting.
And thanks, Ty. Ohio hunters checked 85,448 deer during the week-long gun season that concluded on Sunday, December 7th, according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife. In 2024, harvest number was 87,191. And that's down from last year, but up from the 76,409 that is the 3-year average. Top 5 counties: Coshocton, Ashtabula, Tuscarawas, Muskingum, and Knox. And that's a lot of numbers pretty quick, but that 85,448 that was harvested during gun season, put this in perspective, this year, 397,907 deer permits were issued through Sunday, December 7th. And of course, that includes the youth season and archery season as well. Back with more after this.
When you combine the advanced technology of Enlist E3 soybeans with Seed Consultants' dedication to performance in the Eastern Corn Belt, it's a simply better experience. Our Seed Consultants brand soybeans are hand-selected, tested, and proven to perform in your conditions, backed by the local knowledge of Seed Consultants sales professionals. Buy into better soybeans with reliability and results packed into every variety. Visit seedconsultants.com.
After years of dedication, Jim and Jody Johnson are retiring and selling their quality farm equipment through Purple Wave's December 30th Ag Auction. Don't miss their 2024 John Deere ExactEmerge 1775 NT Planter and 2019 John Deere S760 Combine. See the equipment yourself during open inspections at Osage, Iowa on Wednesday, December 17th and Monday, December 29th, both from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit purplewave.com for a complete listing. Purple Wave Auctions, straight, simple, sold.
Retail fertilizer prices tracked by DTN for the first week of December continue to show most are slightly higher. For the second week in a row, 5 fertilizers were higher once again, while the remaining 3 were a little lower. The 5 nutrients higher are potash at $489 a ton, 1034.0 at $667, anhydrous $865, UAN 28 $414, and UAN 32 at $465. 3 fertilizers were slightly lower looking back to the prior month. DAP had an average price of $916, MAP $921, and urea $586 a ton. President Donald Trump said Canadian fertilizer being exported south of the border could be hit with significant tariffs in the future, according to CTV article. This would increase already higher fertilizer costs for U.S. farmers struggling with profitability. Trump made the comment while announcing a $12 billion agriculture aid package on Monday. A lot of it does come in from Canada, and so we'll end up putting very severe tariffs on that if we have to, because that's the way you want to bolster it here, and we can do that, Trump said. Trump's comments were not welcomed by the Fertilizer Institute, and Veronica Nye, senior economist at the Fertilizer Institute, said this topic has already been discussed in the past. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information on your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the Wednesday session mixed, a little bit higher on beans and bean oil, bean meal, corn, and wheat all lower on the day. Taking a look back and trying to figure out what exactly the market was looking at, well, you first have to start with China. There were more flash sales to China. Yesterday, we had an announcement of 136,000 tons of soybeans to China, 331,000 metric tons to unknown destinations, 120,000 tons of soy meal to Poland. Now, there were doubts in the marketplace that all of those unknown destinations were China, mostly due to the fact that at this time, China wants to really be very open and honest and telegraph any purchases out of the U.S. to make sure that they're getting credit for complying with their deal. But we also did hear that there were strong rumors of Sinograin being in the market on Tuesday, getting boats. Any and all demand is welcome, but there's still a large suggestion that China needs to secure about 660,000 metric tons of U.S. soy per week if you're going to hit that 12 million metric tons by the agreed-upon deadline, which I guess now is the end of February. We also did see a rally in Brazilian FOB soy premiums for February and March. That's also paused at 20 to 50 cents over March's soy futures, respectively, for Feb and March. That reflects a normal but decently sized discount to U.S. origins. The soy market focus will remain centered on China, but the increasing pace of non-Chinese buying matters with respect to the USDA forecast, which right now is set to potentially change dramatically since there were no changes to the balance sheet on the Tuesday report. Otherwise, there was not much else out there to get too super excited about. Some folks were trying to talk about a Fed rate cut. Honestly, we're in the winter doldrums here between holidays. It's going to take more than what we're seeing right now to feed any kind of bull. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, December corn 436 3/4 up 2. March up 1/4 cent at 444 1/2. The January beans are up 2 3/4 at $10.94. March $11.03 3/4 up 2 3/4. Carry that crop all the way to May, and you're $11.13 1/4 up 2 3/4. July wheat up 1 1/4 at 547 1/4. September 559 3/4 up 1 1/4. In livestock, February cattle closed up $1.57 yesterday at $228.52. April up $1.47 at $228.37. February lean hogs $82.42 up 55 cents. April up 85 cents at $87.37. Feeder cattle all higher. March up $2.67 at $332.82. April up $2.42 at $331.90. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.